This is Mark. He lives in London. This is Jane. She is Mark's wife. He loves her. So this is the first personal pronoun, he. She is also a personal pronoun. And here is he again, a personal pronoun. And her is also an example of a personal pronoun. Okay? So these are the personal pronouns, some of them. And personal pronouns represent a person or thing. Okay? So personal pronouns, they are words that replace the name of a person or a thing, an object. Okay? And there are two different types of personal pronoun. One, we call them subject personal pronouns, and two, object personal pronouns. So we will now look at both of these types in detail. Okay, so first of all, let's look at the singular, first person, and the first person can be male or female. And the subject pronoun is I. So the first person singular is I. Second person singular, which can be male or female, is you. And the third person singular, for male, we say he. Female, we say she. And neuter, which is neither male or female, we say it. Okay, so that is singular. In the plural, first person plural, which is male or female, we say we. And second person plural is you. Okay, so we use you in the singular and the plural. And the third person plural, which is male, female, or neuter, if it is a thing, then we say they. Okay? So the subject pronouns are I, you, he, she, it, we, you, and they. And the object pronouns, the corresponding object pronouns, are me, you, him, her, it, us, you, and them. Okay? So these are the pronouns, personal pronouns, when the pronoun is being used as an object. Okay? So in this lesson, we will look at the subject pronouns and object pronouns in a little bit more detail, with some more examples and rules, and at the end there is an exercise. Okay? So the subject personal pronouns. Here they are again on the right. And the subject pronouns are the subject of the verb. Okay, so the subject of the verb. The subject of the verb means the person or the thing who is doing the action. Okay? And in the third person singular, so here, third person singular, we use he to refer to a man or a male, a boy, and she to refer to a woman or a girl, a female. But if we are not sure if it is a man or woman, then we have a choice of 3 solutions. First solution, we can say he or she. So for example, if we do not know if a teacher is a man or a woman, then we can say, ask your teacher, he or she will help. So in fact, we say both of them, he or she. Second solution, we can say, we can pretend that it is a man. Okay, so we choose one or the other, and we choose the male. Ask your teacher, he will help. Or, third solution, we say, ask your teacher, they will help. Okay, so in fact, to keep it neutral, we use the third person plural, so they. So they, it is neutral because we are not saying if it is a man or a woman. Okay, so although it is third person plural in the form, in the meaning it is singular. Okay, so we have 3 choices, and personally I think the third choice is the best solution. Okay, but they are all correct. And we use it for singular things and most animals. Example, I like my new car, it is very fast. And look at the cow, it is eating the grass. Okay, so it is an animal, and so we use it to refer to it, okay, which is neuter. But there is an exception. If the animal is a family pet, okay, so if the animal, for example, is a dog or a cat who is part of the family, then we can use he if it is a male animal, or she if it is a female animal. Example, where is Toby? He is in the garden. Okay, because Toby, he is the family dog. So we say he. Exception number 2. In English, ships are female. Okay, it is one of the very few things or objects which has a gender. So in English, ships are in fact female. Example, the Titanic was a British ship. She sank in 1912. Okay, she sank in 1912. So we do not say it sank, because ships are female. And we also use it to identify somebody. Who is that? It's Brad Pitt. Okay, so we say it to identify who the person is. That is correct. We do not say he's Brad Pitt. Okay, we are not introducing him, we are identifying him. So in this context, that is wrong. And for example, if we are on the telephone, hello Mum, it's David. We say that, but we do not say, hello Mum, I am David. Okay, we are not introducing ourselves. I'm sure Mum knows our name. We are just saying who it is who is calling her. We are identifying ourselves. So we use it. And we also use it to describe the weather, temperature, time, and distance. It's raining. It's 30 degrees Celsius outside. It's 4 o'clock. It's 50 miles to London. So this is the distance. So for all these situations, we use it. And we also use it to make a general comment or remark. It's terrible. My sister is too ill to go to London. So we are just making a general comment. The situation is terrible. So we say it is terrible. And it's also, we can say it's important to eat well. We are simply making a general comment. And some examples of subject personal pronouns. I am making a phone call. You are shaking my hand. He is drinking a cup of coffee. She is drinking a cup of tea. It was very expensive. And it, we are describing the watch, which is a thing, an object. It was very expensive. We are having breakfast. You were having dinner together. They are shaking hands. So at the top, these are singular, and at the bottom, these are the plural. Okay? Object personal pronouns. So here is the list. Me, you, him, her, it, us, you, them. And we use object personal pronouns in 3 situations. Number 1, as a direct object. Jane likes him. Mark saw us in London today. So him and us, they are the direct objects of the verb. Second situation, as an indirect object. As an indirect object. David gave me a present. She is telling them a joke. So in the first example here, David gave me a present. The direct object is present. David gave a present. And he gave the present to me. So me is the indirect object. Okay? And finally, as an object of a preposition. Example, Mark talked to her this morning. I am waiting for you. So the preposition is the word to and for. Okay? And so her is the object of the preposition to. Talked to her. Okay? Examples. Jane is pointing at me. I love you. Jane is helping him. Mark is annoying her. John made it this morning. Come to see us in London. I saw you last night in the pub. John is not with them. Okay, so again, at the top, these are the singular. Okay, these are the singular personal pronouns. And these at the bottom are the plural. Okay? Exercise. Complete the sentences with the correct personal pronoun. Example: look at that blue dress. Something is beautiful. So I want you to complete this sentence with the correct personal pronoun. Well, the answer is it is beautiful. Okay? A dress is a thing. It's not a person. And there is only one dress, so it is singular. So the personal pronoun is it, because it is the subject. Okay? It is the subject of the verb be. Question 1, and I will give you a few seconds. The answer is, my sister is coming to see me tonight. She will be here at 7 p.m. Question 2. The answer is, my name is Andrew. I am your English teacher. Question 3. The answer is, Jane's parents can't come to the party. They are in New York. Question 4. The answer is, I am Mark, and this is my wife, Jane. We are your new neighbours. We are your new neighbours. Question 5. The answer is, we are going to the cinema. Do you want to come with us? Do you want to come with us? Okay, so this is an object. Question 6. The answer is, this is Mark's telephone number. Call him if you need help. Okay, call him if you need help. Question 7. The answer is, the neighbours are making a lot of noise. I'm going to ask them to stop. I'm going to ask them to stop. Okay? So those are the exercises. Introduction. I am making Mark a cup of coffee. I am making him a cup of coffee. So you can see here the word him is a personal pronoun, and this is replacing the word Mark. Okay, so this sentence is correct. But if I would like a cup of coffee, how do we say this? So if I want a coffee, how can we say this? I am making me a cup of coffee. So this is wrong. We cannot say this with a personal pronoun. Here I have said me, which is a personal pronoun, but this is wrong. I am making myself a cup of coffee. This is now using a reflexive pronoun, myself, and this is correct. So here, this is an example of a reflexive pronoun, which is what we're going to look at in this lesson. So in this lesson, you will learn the 8 reflexive pronouns and intensive pronouns. And then you will learn how to use the reflexive pronouns and how to use the intensive pronouns. So let's carry on. So in this column in red, this is the list of 8 reflexive pronouns and 8 intensive pronouns. So the 8 words are reflexive pronouns and intensive pronouns. It is the same words for both. So in yellow we have the singular. So the first person is myself, second person yourself, third person male himself, female herself, and neuter itself. And then we have the plural. So first person plural ourselves, second person yourselves, and third person themselves. So look carefully at the spelling. So in the singular, they all end with the letter F. And in the plural, they end with the letters VES. Okay? Now, so the reflexive pronouns and intensive pronouns, they are the same 8 words, but they are different, and the use of them is very different, and we will see that in this lesson. So first, let's look at the reflexive pronouns. So we use a reflexive pronoun when the subject and object of the sentence are the same person. A reflexive pronoun is an object that reflects back to a subject. So it is an object of the sentence and it reflects back to a subject. Example: Jane is preparing herself for the meeting. As you can see, Jane is the subject of the sentence, and she is also the object of the sentence. So this in fact means Jane is preparing Jane for the meeting. So herself reflects back to the subject. Okay, this is the object, and it reflects back to the subject. It is the same person. And we can use a reflexive pronoun as 3 different types of object. So the reflexive pronoun can represent a direct object, an indirect object, or an object of preposition. So let's look at examples of each of these 3. So first, direct object. We use a reflexive pronoun as a direct object to reflect back to the subject. Example: Mark is teaching himself to play the guitar. So the subject is Mark, because it is Mark who is teaching, and the object is also Mark. Mark is teaching Mark. So we use a reflexive pronoun, and it is male, so it is himself. The position of the reflexive pronoun is immediately after the verb. So you can see the verb here, teaching, and then we have the reflexive pronoun. Some more examples. I am teaching myself to play the guitar. Jane is teaching herself to play the guitar. So Jane is female, so we use the third person singular female reflexive pronoun, herself. Examples. We enjoyed ourselves at the beach. Mark blamed himself for the car accident. Okay. Let's now look at the reflexive pronoun as an indirect object. So it is very similar. So we use a reflexive pronoun as an indirect object to reflect back to the subject. Example. Mark is making himself a sandwich. Again, the subject is Mark, because it is Mark who is making the sandwich. And this time, the indirect object is also Mark, because the sandwich is for Mark. So, in this sentence, sandwich is the direct object, and himself is the indirect object. And this reflects back to Mark, the subject. Here, again, the position of the reflexive pronoun is immediately after the verb making, and then the reflexive pronoun. Example. My parents have bought themselves a new car. My parents is the subject, and themselves is the indirect object, and it is the third person plural, so we say themselves. As an object of preposition. So we use a reflexive pronoun as an object of preposition to reflect back to the subject. You often talk to yourself. The subject is you, because it is you who is talking. Subject. And the object is also you, because you talk to you. And you can see that this time the position of the reflexive pronoun is immediately after the preposition. So here is the preposition. So talk has a preposition with it. Talk to, because we talk to somebody. So this time the reflexive pronoun comes after the preposition. Example. Jane is looking at herself in the mirror. Okay, so Jane is singular, it's the subject, so it is the third person singular female, herself, and it comes directly after the preposition at. Common reflexive verbs in English. Transitive verbs. So, when appropriate, we can use reflexive pronouns as the object of these verbs. Amuse, blame, content, cut, dry, enjoy, help, hurt, introduce, kill, prepare, teach. Now there are other verbs, there are many other verbs, in fact, but these are the most common verbs where we use reflexive pronouns. Let's look at some examples. Jane introduced herself to my parents. I enjoyed myself at the party. Okay? And the athlete contented himself with second place. So contented himself, this means that the athlete was satisfied. There are some verbs that are always reflexive, that do not have a normal form. Busy oneself, pride oneself. While waiting for the train, I busied myself reading a book. This means that while I was waiting for the train, I occupied myself. I passed the time reading a book. Okay? I stayed busy. So this list of verbs at the top, of course, they don't have to be reflexive. Sometimes we use them normally without a reflexive pronoun. Okay? But these verbs here, they only have a reflexive form. There are some verbs that change their meaning when they are reflexive. Apply. So the normal use, I applied for a new job today. And when it is reflexive, if you want to pass your English exam, you must apply yourself. So apply yourself, this means you must work hard. So this meaning is very different to when we use apply without a reflexive pronoun. Help. I'm sure you all know what help means. It means to assist. Mark helped Jane with her homework. Okay? But the meaning changes when it becomes reflexive. Mark helped himself to a beer. So helped himself, this means Mark took a beer, or he served a beer for himself. Okay, so the meaning is very different. Find. I'm sure you all know what the word find means normally. If you lose something, then later you find something. I found my keys today. But when it is a reflexive verb, it is very different. This morning, I found myself lying on the floor of the bathroom. So this means that I was surprised when I discovered I was on the floor. So it means you discover yourself in a situation and you are surprised. See. So we see something with our eyes. I saw David Beckham in London yesterday. But when it is reflexive, it is very different. When I was a child, I saw myself as a singer. This means I pretended to be a singer. I imagined that I was a singer. So I was dreaming about being a singer. So these verbs change their meaning when they are reflexive. And there are other examples, but these are very common examples. Now let's look at some common mistakes. We do not use a reflexive pronoun after a preposition of place or with if it is obvious that the meaning is reflexive. Instead, we use a personal object pronoun. Example: he took his umbrella with himself. Now, this is wrong. He took his umbrella with him. This is the correct version. So this is because in the context of this sentence, he took his umbrella. Well, the umbrella can only be with the subject of the sentence. The umbrella can only be with him. Okay, it cannot be with somebody else. So we do not need to specify that it is reflexive, because the context of the sentence tells us that it is reflexive. So in this instance, with the word with or another preposition of place, we use a personal object pronoun, with him. A second common mistake is we do not use a reflexive pronoun as a subject. Remember, we said earlier that a reflexive pronoun is an object of the sentence, so we must never use it as a subject. So we must use a personal subject pronoun. Example: Mark and myself went to London. This is wrong. We must say Mark and I went to London. This is correct. So here we have used a reflexive pronoun, but this is wrong because we need a subject here. Okay. This mistake is very common even with native English speakers. Okay, so be very careful. You will hear this and see this a lot, but it is a mistake. Another very common mistake is in English we do not use a reflexive pronoun for actions that people usually do for themselves. So, example: Mark shaves himself every morning. This is wrong. In English, this is wrong. The correct sentence is Mark shaves every morning. This is not reflexive. Jane is drying herself her hair. In English, this is wrong. The correct version is Jane is drying her hair. David is brushing himself his teeth. This is wrong. The correct version, David is brushing his teeth. Now, these are common mistakes by English learners, because in other European languages, like French and Spanish, then all of these verbs are in fact reflexive. For example, in French, we say Marc se rase tous les matins. But obviously, in English, that is wrong. Because in English, we consider that shaving is, by definition, it is a reflexive action. So we do not need to specify that. Okay? Now, intensive pronouns. Remember, it is the same 8 words, but we use them very differently, and the meaning is very different. So intensive pronouns, they simply add emphasis to a noun or pronoun. So the noun or pronoun that they add emphasis to is called the antecedent. So intensive pronouns, they are not the object of the sentence, and unlike reflexive pronouns, the subject and object are not the same person. So we are not reflecting back to the subject. Okay? We do not have the concept of a reflexive verb. Example. Are you sure that Jane is coming to the party? Yes, she herself told me. She herself told me. So here, the word herself is emphasizing she. It's emphasizing or intensifying the subject. She told me. Nobody else told me. So we are stressing the fact that it is Jane who told me. And so we are saying, in fact, that Jane told me personally. She told me directly. I am making it clear that it was Jane. You must sign the contract yourself. So yourself is emphasizing the word you. We are emphasizing the subject. You must sign the contract, nobody else. So here, the intensive pronoun yourself is intensifying or emphasizing the subject you. Okay? And as you can see, we have two choices for the position. The position of the intensive pronoun is either after the antecedent or at the end of the clause. So here we have placed it after the subject, and here we have placed it at the end of the clause. Now there is a specific expression with intensive pronouns. We can say the word by plus an intensive pronoun. And it means alone or without help. Example. My friends don't want to go to the party, so I will go by myself. I will go by myself, it means I will go alone. Jane cooked the dinner by herself. So this means that only Jane cooked the dinner. Nobody helped her. She cooked the dinner alone. The man is sitting on the bench by himself. The man is sitting on the bench alone. This is the meaning. Exercises. Exercise 1. Complete these sentences using the correct reflexive pronoun. Example. David is making a salad. So what is the correct reflexive pronoun? Well, the answer is himself. David is making himself a salad. So question 1, and I will give you a few seconds. The answer is David, you must prepare yourself for the interview. Question 2. And the answer is our children are teaching themselves English. Question 3. And the answer is the horse has fallen on the ground. I think it has hurt itself. Okay, so the subject is the horse. So the horse is an animal. So we refer to it as it because it is neuter. So the third person singular neuter reflexive pronoun is itself. Question 4. The answer is did you enjoy yourselves in London last week? So it is yourselves, plural, because it was you, plural. We are talking to several people. Question 5. The answer is I think that Jane is blaming herself for the accident. Question 6. The answer is we helped ourselves to the buffet. We helped ourselves to the buffet. So this is the first person plural, ourselves. Exercise 2. Use the correct intensive pronoun to emphasize the subject. Example, and this is you singular. Well, the answer is did you yourself wash the car? Question 1. The answer is Mark likes to sleep after a meal, but I myself prefer to go for a walk. Question 2. The answer is the directors are going to approve the accounts themselves. Question 3. The answer is Jane herself informed me of her decision. Finally, exercise 3. I want you to use the correct intensive pronoun to say that the subject is alone or doesn't need help. Example, the answer is I am going to New York by myself next week. Question 1. The answer is we prefer to work by ourselves. Question 2. And this is referring to you, plural. We are talking to several people. The answer is, do you want me to come with you, or do you prefer to go by yourselves? Question 3. The answer is, I didn't touch the oven, it broke by itself. So here we are referring to a machine, to an oven. So this is neuter. It is an object. So it is it. So it's the third person singular neuter by itself. So this means that the oven, it broke without any human intervention. Okay? It broke without us touching it. So here we are with an introduction. That pen is my pen, not your pen. Now, this sentence is correct, but it is not natural because we are repeating the noun. We have the noun here, here, and also here. So we are repeating it, and it doesn't sound very good. Okay? So the sentence is grammatically correct, but it is not very good. So to avoid repeating the noun, we can use possessive pronouns. For example, so here is the old sentence. That pen is my pen, not your pen. So, as I have said, it is correct, but not natural. So the solution is, that pen is mine, not yours. And this is much better. Okay? So here we are using possessive pronouns, mine and yours. And in the original sentence, we were in fact using possessive adjectives, my and your. Okay? So they were correct, but the only problem was that we had already said the word pen here. So it is better to avoid repeating them. So to stop repeating the word pen, we use the possessive pronouns. Okay? So, possessive pronouns, they describe who owns something, and they replace the noun and also the possessive adjective. So we can see here, we replace the noun and possessive adjective, my pen, with the word mine. And your pen, we replace it with yours. Okay? Possessive pronouns, they can be the subject of a sentence. For example, I don't like your pen, mine is better. So mine is the subject of the sentence because it means my pen is better. It is the subject. Or possessive pronouns can be the object of a sentence. I don't like your pen. Do you like mine? So here, mine is the object of the sentence. And it means, do you like my pen? It is the object. Also, very important, each possessive pronoun is the same for singular and plural nouns. So there is no difference if the noun is plural or if the noun is plural or if the noun is singular. We use the same possessive pronoun. For example, singular, Mark says, "Is it your pen?" and I say, yes, it's mine. So we use mine to describe the singular noun. And in the plural, Mark says, are they your pens? And I reply, yes, they are mine. Okay, so here, mine, we are referring to a noun in the plural, pens. Pens is plural, but we use the same possessive pronoun. Okay, it's the same for singular and plural. In English, there are 7 possessive pronouns, and in this lesson you will learn all of them. First person singular. Is that your watch? Yes, it's mine. So mine is the first person singular. And that is, the personal pronoun is I. And the corresponding adjective, possessive adjective, is my plus noun. Second person singular. Hello Mark, I like that bike. Is it yours? And another example. I have a fast bike, but yours is faster. So the word yours is the second person singular. And that refers to you when it is the personal pronoun, and your plus noun when it is the possessive adjective. Okay? So it has an S on the end, but remember, we always use the same possessive pronoun for a singular noun and a plural noun. Important. When we write it, there is no apostrophe in the word yours. Yours is faster with an apostrophe is wrong. Without an apostrophe, yours is faster is correct. Very important when we are writing it. Third person singular, male. Jane's car is red, but his is black. Jane is going to sell her car, but Mark is going to keep his. So the word his is the third person singular, male. So the third person singular, well, the personal pronoun is he, and the possessive adjective is his plus the noun. Third person singular, female. Why is Claire wearing my necklace? It's not your necklace, it's hers. Why is Claire holding my shoes? They are not your shoes, they are hers. In this example, it is referring to a singular noun. There is one singular necklace, hers. But here, it is plural. The noun is shoes. Okay? But we use the same possessive pronoun, hers. So it's the same for singular and plural. Of course, the only thing that changes is the verb. Here it is singular. It is hers. And here the verb be is plural. They are hers. But the the possessive pronoun is the same. Hers is the third person singular, female. And the personal pronoun is she. And her plus noun is the possessive adjective. Important, again, when we are writing, there is no apostrophe in hers. This is very important. They are hers with an apostrophe is wrong. And this is right. This is correct. Third person singular neuter. So I say, my neck is short, but is long. So what do we say here? What is the third person singular neuter? Well, in fact, very important, there isn't one, okay? This is an exception. There is no real common possessive pronoun for the third person singular neuter. Okay, some people will say it here, but it is wrong. So what is the solution? Well, we have two possible solutions. One, we use the possessive adjective it with a noun. For example, my neck is short, but its neck is long. So we are using the possessive adjective its with the noun neck. Okay, so unfortunately we are repeating the noun neck, but there is no real other solution. The second possibility is we can use an apostrophe with the owner, with the person or the animal who owns the neck or who owns the noun. For example, my neck is short, but the giraffe's neck is long. So the owner is giraffe. So we write it with an apostrophe and an S to show possession, followed by the noun. This is what he owns. It is his neck, its neck. Okay? Again, there is repetition here. We are repeating the word neck, but there is no other solution. First person plural. We have a new car. It is ours. Ours is the first person plural. So that is we or our plus the noun. Okay? Ours with an S. Second person plural. You have a new computer. It's yours. Another example. I have a computer, but it is very old. Yours is newer. So yours is the second person plural. So you plural, or your plus the noun is the possessive adjective. They have a new armchair. It is theirs. Another example. My armchair is blue. Theirs is red. So this is the third person plural. Okay, the third person plural. I'm sorry I didn't write it in the title, but it is the third person plural, which means they as the personal pronoun or their plus noun is the possessive adjective. Important. Again, there is no apostrophe in theirs. This is wrong, but this is right. This is correct. And again, very important when we are writing. Okay? So here is the summary of the list of all the possessive pronouns in English. So mine, yours, his, hers, ours, yours, and theirs. Okay? So this table is very important. Exercise. Replace the possessive adjective plus noun with a possessive pronoun. Example. How is your meal? My meal is delicious. Well, the answer here is how is your meal? Mine is delicious. So we are replacing my meal with the possessive pronoun mine. Because this, when it is like this, we are no longer repeating the word meal. Okay? Question 1. And I will give you a few seconds. The answer is, we don't know their address and they don't know ours. Question 2. The answer is, Jane's keys are in the bag, but where are yours? Question 3. The answer is, if you don't have a pen, you can borrow mine. Question 4. I don't like my garden, but your garden is nice. That is the question. And the answer is, I don't like my garden, but yours is nice. Question 5. The answer is, Mark's train has left, but mine is late. Question 6. The answer is, my camera is broken, but theirs is working. And the last question. The answer is, Mark loves his job, but Jane hates hers. Okay? So those are the answers to the exercise.
Welcome to English Grammar Spot. This lesson is about the relative pronouns. Take a look at these sentences. The woman who was shouting was angry. My garden, which is small, looks spacious. The car that drove right past me was red. The girl whose brother is in my class is nice. The man whom I sent a letter will help me. What she told me isn't true. All the underlined words are what we call relative pronouns. In this lesson, I'm going to show you how and when to use who, how and when to use which, when and how to use that, when and how to use whose, when and how to use whom, and when and how to use what. The relative pronoun can refer to a noun. For example, I know the artist who made this painting, and here who is a relative pronoun and the artist obviously is a noun. A pronoun? She can tell me nothing that will change my mind. That is the relative pronoun. Nothing is the pronoun. A subclause? He told us we could go home, which came as a surprise. Which here is the relative pronoun, and we could go home is a subclause. And a main clause. I filled my exams which I had not expected. Which here is the relative pronoun, and I filled my exams is the main cause. Remember, A subclause is a clause that cannot stand on its own. The word or words a relative pronoun refers to is called the antecedent. For example, there was a man who was quite clever. The man here is the antecedent. She told us to leave, which was a shock. To leave here is called the antecedent. The part of the sentence that contains the relative pronoun is also called a relative clause. There was a man who was quite clever. Who was quite clever here is the relative clause. She told us to leave, which was a shock. Which was a shock here is the relative clause. Now let's take a look at our first relative pronoun, who. We use who when the antecedent is a person. For example, her cousin, who is 5, is learning to speak English. Cousin here obviously is a person, so we use who. My neighbours, who are old, complain a lot. Neighbours here are people, so also persons, and we use who. Now let's take a look at the word which. We use which when the antecedent is not a person. For example, the bike which he forgot to lock was stolen. She asked for my help, which I found charming. In the first example, bike obviously is a thing, so we use which. She asked for my help here is an entire clause, so again we use which. Now let's take a look at that. In order to use that, we need to find out whether the clause that we use as a relative clause is non-restrictive or restrictive. A non-restrictive relative clause provides information that can be omitted, so information that is not essential for the sentence to make sense. For example, my Uncle Bob, who is a butcher, has a cat. Now, the sentence, my Uncle Bob has a cat, is a perfect sentence which is grammatically correct and makes sense. So, who is a butcher here is additional information, but it's not essential to making the sentence grammatically correct or coherent. The restrictive relative clause provides information that cannot be omitted, so this information cannot be left out, otherwise the sentence doesn't make any sense. The people who live here are lovely. The people are lovely. Obviously this sentence is grammatically correct, but we don't really know which people we are talking about. This is a house which is very old. Again, this is a house. Makes perfect sense, grammatically that is, but this is a house. Yes, we can see that this is a house. We need extra information on that. In a restrictive relative clause, who and which can be replaced by that. The people who live here are lovely. The people that live here are lovely. This is a house which is very old. This is a house that is very old. In a non-restrictive relative clause, who and which can't be replaced by that. My Uncle Bob, that is a butcher, has a cat, is grammatically incorrect. Sometimes we can omit the relative pronoun. When the relative pronoun is not the subject of the restrictive relative clause, we can leave it out. The boys who you saw are my nephews. Here, the subject of the relative clause, so who you saw, is you and not who. The boys that you saw are my nephews. Again, you is the subject of the relative clause, so we could also say the boys you saw are my nephews. So here we can leave the relative pronoun out because it's not the subject of the restrictive relative clause. We can also use whose. We use whose as a possessive form of who. The man whose bike was green laughed at me. Here we say that the bike belonged to a certain person, the man, so we use whose. Now sometimes we can also use whom, but it's quite informal. And we can only use it in restrictive clauses only. The doctor whom I talked to you about is friendly. The final relative pronoun is what. We use what when there is no antecedent. For example, what you saw is unique. When she sees what you have made, she'll be speechless. We don't know what exactly what is. What strikes me is that he didn't apologize.
This is my bag. So the man is saying, this is my bag. And the girl on the right, she is saying, this is my sister. Okay, so let's look at this sentence here. So he is using the word this, and in fact, in both of these sentences, it is an expression. We are saying this is my bag and this is my sister. So this is an expression we use to show a single object or a single person who is close to us, who is near us. So here, for example, the bag is very close to the man, and there is only one bag. So we use the word this. And it is the same here. The girl on the right, her sister is very close to her. She is next to her. And there is only one sister. There is only one girl. So this is in the singular. And so we use the word this. So this is the rule. We use this to specify or to show an object or person in the singular that is near to us. So this is the important detail. For a singular object or person that is near or close to us, then we use the word this. Now the man is saying, this bag is heavy. And this man is saying, this computer is expensive. So now it is slightly different. We are using the word this, but we also have a noun. So we are not saying this is, we are saying this with a noun, this bag. So here we are talking about a specific bag. Okay, so that is the meaning of this. We are not talking about another bag. We are talking about this specific bag. And it is singular, and it is close to the man. So we use the word this. And it is the same here. This computer is expensive. Not another computer, not a computer on the other side of the room. No, we are talking about a specific computer, the one in the man's hand. So, we use this with a noun to specify an object or person in the singular that is near to us. So again, the important thing here is that the object or person is singular and near to us. These are my children. So here we use the word these, and the expression is these are. So we use the word these to define objects or people in the plural which are close to us, which are near to us. So it is the same as this, but this time it is the plural. So the rule is we use these to specify objects or people in the plural that are near to us. So this is what changes. Here it is in the plural. So this for the singular and these for the plural. These flowers are for my wife. These shoes are uncomfortable. So now we are using the word these and a noun. So again, these is to specify a noun in the plural for something that is close to us. So the flowers are near to the person, and flowers are in the plural. So we use the word these. And it is the same here. These shoes are uncomfortable. The shoes are near to the lady. They are in the plural. And so we use the word these. We use these with a noun to specify objects or people in the plural that are near to us. So that is the rule. That is an amazing view. So here we are using the word that, and this is an expression, that is. And this is for single objects or people in the singular, which are far from us. So this is not objects which are close to us. This is now things which are a long distance, far from us. So we use that to specify an object or person in the singular. So this is a singular use again, and it is far from us. So the view is far from the man. That aeroplane is very high. That boat is beautiful. So this time we are talking about a single object which is far from the person who is talking. And so we use the word that. And we are talking about a specific noun. So this is that with a noun. So we're talking about a specific aeroplane which is far from the person. And this is the same. That boat is beautiful. So the rule, we use that with a noun to specify an object or person in the singular that is far from us. So again, this is for things which are far from us. And now in the plural, those are my shoes. So we are talking about objects which are far from the person who is talking. and this is the plural. There are 2 shoes. And so in the plural, we use the word those. We use those to specify objects or people in the plural that are far from us. Those aeroplanes are very fast. And those birds are beautiful. So again, this is the plural for objects which are far from the person, and so we use those with the noun, those with a noun in the plural. Those aeroplanes, those birds. So we use those with a noun to specify objects or people in the plural that are far from us. Okay? So those are the 4 words. So we use this for singular nouns which are close to us. We use these for plural objects which are close to us. We use that for singular objects which are far from us, and we use those for plural objects which are far from us. Time is also important. Example. During the meal, okay, so the time we are during the meal, we will say, this pizza is delicious. So we say this for during the meal, for the present. That is correct. And when we use the past tense, we use the word that. So we say that pizza was delicious last night. So the next day, this is what we say. That is correct. But this is wrong. The next day, when we use the past tense, we do not say, this pizza was delicious last night. That is wrong. So the rule here, if an action is in the present or near future, then we use this or these, like here. But if an action is in the past, then we use that or those, like we have here. So of course, we use this if it is singular, and these if it is plural, and that if it is singular, and those if it is plural. Okay? So that is very important. It is important to take into account the time when something happened. And finally, introductions, we always use this. So for example, here the man is introducing these 2 men. This is Mark and this is David. So he is saying, Mark, this is David, and David, this is Mark. So for introductions, we say this is. And it is the same on the telephone. So the girl is saying, hello, this is Sarah. She is introducing herself. and so we use the word this is. Okay, so let us do an exercise. Question 1. Describe the objects near to you using the word this and the word these. And I would like you to give me 3 things. My example is, this computer is black. Okay, I would like you to give me 3 examples. And question 2, look out of the window and describe what you see using that and those. And I want you to give me 3 things. So my example would be, those cars are going very